Good to see you. Thank you so much for joining in. And like Rita ma'am was saying, Merry Christmas and advance Happy New Year to everyone. I actually didn't think there would be so many enthusiastic learners today because I'm sure it's family time and holidays for everyone. But thank you so much for joining in. I'll try and make this 1 hour as interactive and as enjoyable as possible. Of course, the topic for today also is all about gamification. So I think very apt for the end of the year kind of topic where we can have some fun together and also learn together. So I think we are at 6 o'clock sharp. So it's a good time to begin. Good evening, everyone. Just for my understanding, because the session is such, I do need that piece of information as we go along. In the chat, if all of you can just put in which city you are from. Let's see how many cities we are representing today, because then slightly later in the session, let's see if we can use that piece of information as part of one of our games. So Amit sir is from Delhi. All right. So currently, of course, I belong to Bombay, but currently I'm also giving this session out of Delhi. So yes, beating the cold. Harjeet ma'am, Gurumukhi Andi hai, very good. Pune, Delhi, all right. Chennai, all right. So we have Hyderabad, Kerala. A lot of you from Delhi today. Okay, a lot of you from Hyderabad. All right. So all of you as children, what games have you played? Can you now put that down on chat, please? What games did you like playing as children? Indoor games, outdoor games, anything will do. But what games did you like playing as children? Kho-kho, Ludo, hopscotch, absolutely. Okay, football. Matthew sir loved playing football, hide and seek, badminton. Okay, what else did we like playing as this group? Quizzing. Okay, Rashmi ma'am likes quizzing. Yes, Hima ma'am, have your hand up. Carom. Okay, so we have a lot of people liking playing games. I think everyone will have some favorite game or the other. Did you enjoy playing games? What did games do for you? You can unmute and answer that one as well. Did any of you love playing games? Did you enjoy playing games? What else? Rejuvenation is what Pavandeep ma'am is saying. Okay, what else happened? You can unmute and answer as well if you want to. What happened when you played games?
It gave us happiness and thrill, ma'am.
Happiness and thrill.
And
Okay, what else? What?
being together, being enjoying that team,
Absolutely.
that was much fun, ma'am.
Absolutely. Yeah, so doing it with other people was a lot of fun. Enjoyment, team building, relaxes your nervous system. Absolutely. What else what else do games do for us? Yes, Krishna sir. Winning and losing spirit is taught to us. Absolutely. We learn to lose as well as we learn to win. Anything else that comes to anyone's mind? We learn to compete. Okay. Focus. Yes. Okay, so let's try and see how much competition and how much fun you have. I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to be playing a couple of short games today at the beginning of the session. So let's see how well we compete in these games. Okay, simple games. Since we're doing an online session, simple games, but as effective as any other game would be in an offline session as well. So let's long lasting remembering. Yes, I don't think any of us have forgotten how to play Ludo. We've played that all our lives, snakes and ladders and Ludo, and I think we never forget the rules. Same as for carom or badminton or anything that we've played, right? So we're going to be talking about gamification as part of learning. But the way I look at gamification is that it's not just about creating a game and playing it with the students in class. Gamification as a concept is far deeper than just playing a game, right? And which is what I'm trying to emphasize today, that it's not about just creating a game and playing that with your students. How else can you use gamification as a strategy and as a pedagogy in the classroom? So before we get into that, let's try and play a game. Do all of you have a piece of paper and a pen or a pencil with you? Otherwise, I'll give you 30 seconds to grab something. Okay. So just grab any plain piece of paper A pen, a color pencil, any normal pencil, anything will do with which you can draw easily. Okay, we're going to do a basic drawing scale. Okay, so you're going to be only listening to my instructions, and based on the instructions, you will draw out the picture I'm asking you to draw. Okay, is everyone ready? Ready to listen to some simple instructions? Okay, so now on that sheet of paper, draw the largest possible rectangle, but the rectangle has to have rounded edges. Okay, on your sheet of paper, whatever your size of paper is, draw the largest possible rectangle, and your rectangle should have rounded edges. Okay, inside that big rectangle that you have drawn, you draw a slightly smaller rectangle, and that rectangle should be like a normal rectangle, does not have any rounded edges. It has sharp, regular, rectangular edges. So it's a rectangle like a rectangle should be. It doesn't have any shaping. Once you've drawn that, just above that rectangle on the top edge, okay, you draw a small oval shaped structure between the outer rectangle and the inner rectangle. And next to the bottom edge, you draw two oval shaped structures similar to the one you drew above. And between those oval structures, you draw a circle. I'll repeat the entire set of instructions once more. And then after that, we'll see how you have managed to draw your pictures. Okay. Draw a big rectangle as large as the size of your page with rounded edges. Inside that big rectangle, draw a smaller rectangle, the regular rectangular shape. Between the outer rectangle and the inner rectangle on the top edge, make a small oval-like structure, very narrow oval-like structure. And on the bottom edge of that inside rectangle, again between that inside rectangle and the outer rectangle, draw two oval structures, and between those two oval structures, draw a circle. Okay. Are all of you confident of your drawing? Do you think you've done a good job with your drawing? Okay, let's see if you've done a good job with your drawing. How many of you had a structure which looks like this? Sorry. How many of you have something which is close enough to this? Any of you who want to open your videos and show me what you have drawn? Just for the fun of it. Not exact. Okay. So Hima Sagar ma'am is saying slightly different. Okay. Anyone who says exactly this is what I drew? Close enough or very different? You drew a mobile, I know. But Jyoti ma'am, did you draw a mobile or did you draw something else?
It looks like a
Yours
keyboard.
looks like a keyboard. Okay. What are other shapes? What other shapes have people drawn? Slightly different. What other shapes have you drawn? Photo frame. Okay, yours looks like a photo frame. Someone's looks like a keyboard, carom board. Okay. What else? What other shapes have we got? Something like a TV is what you've got. Okay. Now, irrespective of what you landed up drawing, did you enjoy the process?
Yes, ma'am. It is looking like TV.
Yes, of course.
Did you smile when you saw this picture and say, oh my God, what have I drawn? Did some of you smile and say, oh my God, what did I draw?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay. Did some of you say, oh, Vasundhara's instructions were all bakwas? That's why my drawing was rubbish.
No,
No,
ma'am.
ma'am, we couldn't hear you because someone was talking. The voice was
I
disturbing.
think someone is not. I'll request everyone who's not talking to be on mute till you are speaking, please. I could also hear that background, but I can't make out who's not on mute. Amita ma'am, are you saying something? Otherwise, can I request you to be on mute, please? Yeah, thank you. Is that better? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So now you've kind of played one simple warm-up game. Okay. Are you ready for one more? Are you ready to play
Absolutely,
one more?
ma'am. Yes,
Okay.
yes,
So
yes.
let's play one more. Okay. Now this one is fairly simple. Okay. What you're going to be doing is you are going. I'm going to be giving you 2 minutes. Okay. And in those 2 minutes, I will give you a topic. For that topic, related to that topic, everything that starts with A to Z, you have to think of one word each. Okay. So supposing the topic is fruit. Okay, supposing the topic is fruit, you have to think of A for apple, B for bear, C for something else, D for this, whatever. Okay, now whatever topic I give you, you have to think of one word for A to Z. Every letter you have to think of a word related to that main theme. Okay, and I'm going to give you 2 minutes to do that. We are at 6:11, 6:13 tak you have time. Does anyone want to ask me instructions for the game again? Have you understood what you are supposed to do? Because then I'll tell you the topic. From A to Z, you have to think of words related to the topic I'll give you. I'll give you the topic in the next 10 seconds. I'll change the slide. The topic is on that slide. Once you see the topic, start writing out. Write A for this, B for this, C for this, till Z for this. And you have 2 minutes to do that. Is that okay with everyone? So let's move
Okay,
on.
ma'am.
This is your topic. So everything related to classroom, and that's the topic for today. You have 2 minutes to do that till that timer stops. A to Z, I need the words written down. Don't put it on chat just now, please. Just think of the words related to the classroom. It's 6:12. You have time till 6:14. At the moment, I'll request you not to put it on chat, please. We'll do that on chat in a little while. Let everyone think from A to Z. You have 1 minute to go. The topic is classroom. So anything related to the classroom, you have to think of 26 words basically. And the words have to start with those letters. Okay, I think we are done with our time. So now everyone, your words with A. Everyone's put their words down like that. All right, so you can put it down like the way Sheetal ma'am has done. All the words that you could think of related to the classroom from A to Z. Okay, some interesting ones coming up. Amit sir is nicely organized. Sindhu ma'am has thought of most letters. Have you thought of all, Sindhu ma'am? Practically all. So you actually have thought of all. Very good. All right, let's wait for another 1 minute and let's read what everyone else has to say. What are the words that came to your mind when you thought of a classroom? And if some of them are repeating, then you can write only the ones that are different. That's interesting, Rina ma'am. You have a long list. Instructor interaction, note taking, journal writing. Interesting ones there. All right. So why do you think this gaming process works for us as adults, and why do you think it works for children? Why do you think games work for us as adults and it also works for children? What is it in games that makes them a good pedagogical practice? You compete. You can unmute and answer also. It's challenging. What else does it?
They
It keeps
challenge
us
yourself.
engaged.
It keeps you engaged. Yes. It's
You know,
interesting. Yeah. Yes, Reena
you
ma'am.
want to win. You want to win.
You want to win. Okay. What else works in favor? Like, why should, and apart from the winning, what else can you teach children through games?
Creativity,
Creativity, absolutely. And what all is included in creativity?
Ma'am,
thinking,
it improves thinking skills also.
Thinking skills as well. So, can you break up creativity? Can you break up thinking? Some of you have put in words which are part of thinking. So, concentration, engaging the mind, absolutely. What types of thinking are you trying to ensure? So problem solving, absolutely. You're getting children to problem solve. You're getting children to compete. You're getting them to understand how rules work, right? Building new words and vocabulary, absolutely. What else is the benefit that is coming out? Ideas,
innovation, original thinking.
Brain.
original thinking. So all types of ways in which you can ensure that children get to use their cognitive functioning, right? Now cognitive functioning is not only related to the lowest order of Bloom's taxonomy, which is remembering, right, and understanding. Absolutely, Nidra ma'am, I couldn't agree more. Metacognition. So everyone's familiar with metacognition? Otherwise, Nidra ma'am, would you like to help explain what is metacognition? Would you like to share what your understanding is of metacognition? Okay. So when you're looking at the cognitive functioning, which is the brain's functioning, we are going to constantly try and ensure that children are not only getting developed at the lower order, which is the concentration and which is the bit about remembering and memorizing and understanding, but also can they use their brains for higher order thinking, right? And that higher order thinking requires them to analyze, requires them to think of various solutions, requires them to problem solve, requires them to be creative. And I asked that question, what is part of creativity, right? So as part of creativity, you are getting children to be fluent in a particular concept. You are getting them to develop the ability to explain to someone else. So that their ability to explain their ability to explain their idea. It's not enough to just have a brilliant idea, right? I should also have the ability to explain that brilliant idea. So games allow us to be creative because not only do they allow us to think differently, but they also allow us to help us in the explanation process, right? And one of the biggest parts of learning is being able to teach someone else, being able to put out an idea, being able to share an idea. It's not enough to just have an idea, but if children are able to develop that life skill where not just having the idea is important, but being able to share it with other people is more important, is what games are going to teach them. Why? Because even in Ludo or Snakes and Ladders or any simple other game, you are constantly looking at rules. You're trying to understand them yourself. If someone doesn't follow the rule, you're trying to explain the rule to the person. You will fight it out also and compete also, right? When someone is not following the rule. So keeping all of that in mind, therefore, let's look at how we break up gamification, right? So gamification is not only about playing games. That's the first thing to understand. When we're talking about the concept of bringing games into the classroom, there's a lot more that can be thought of than just playing games. So are any of you familiar with what is gamification? Like, have you heard of the word? Do you understand it? Do you have ideas about what it could be? Any of you who would want to give it a shot? Any of you? Yes, Vinita ma'am. Go on, please share. Sunita ma'am, you
Helps
have
in explaining the concepts.
sorry.
It helps in explaining the concepts.
Okay, it helps in explaining the concept. That's the bit about how it will help, right? But what is
Uh,
gamification? What is the components of gamification? Yes, Trina ma'am.
yes, ma'am. Actually, it refers, we can use game elements and mechanism
Hmm.
in non-game context in order to engage and motivate people to achieve their goals, or
Okay.
children to engage them with variety of contexts, such as whether it is math, science, EVS, Hindi, even health.
Okay. Absolutely. Okay.
And these days, if you see, like in businesses, in corporates also,
They are
many
doing
motivational speakers, they go and they play games to teach team building.
absolutely. Okay.
They are
Absolutely.
using games.
Yeah.
Uh, in the game form of only, they teach them that there is a very popular game, like a motivational speaker went to, I'm sorry if I can I explain this.
Yeah. Yeah. Please, please. I'm sure it'll help everyone. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. So he gave a balloon to everyone
Hmm.
and asked to blow them,
Okay.
gave balloons, and then he gave the third instruction that you have to save your balloon. It should not be,
It should not burst.
nobody, yeah, it should
Hmm.
not burst.
Hmm.
So what everyone did, everybody tried to burst others balloon.
Hmm.
They were not taking care of their own balloon. At
Hmm.
the end
Hmm.
of the day, definitely many of them burst each other's balloon and few of them left.
Hmm.
So he said, you did not listen what I said.
Hmm.
I told you that your balloon should not burst. I did not ask you to burst others' balloon.
Hmm.
तो अपना बलून बचाने के लिए सबके बलून आप जो है बस आप मतलब बोला कुछ इंस्ट्रक्शन कुछ दी और समझे कुछ. Basically in schools also, what I see, like children, what we are giving, whatever instructions we are giving, many times children hear us, they don't listen us.
Absolutely.
It is a very, it is a practice what
Absolutely.
we are saying. हम उसको exactly वैसे follow नहीं कर पाते क्योंकि हम वो सुनते हैं जो हम सुनना चाहते हैं.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank
Rina
you,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Very, very useful. I'm sure the others would have also found it useful. I'll now try and break it up. So, two very important things that Rina ma'am said was that, in fact, three important things. So, one is, and I was reading the messages in the chat also meanwhile, like a lot of you are saying that yes, it is a activity, which is one part of the gamification. But a very important part of gamification is, can you take elements from what happens in games and place it in contexts which are actually not game related, right? So for example, you're teaching maths, or you're teaching science, or you're teaching English or Hindi, or any other subject. Can you use the sense of competition? Can you use the sense of listening to rules? Can you use the sense of competing with each other? Those are elements that we are taught because we play games, right? And of course the fun, the energy, and all of that goes along with it. But the critical aspects is teaching children how to listen to instructions, teaching children how to play along with each other, understand and empathize with each other, being able to understand when a team member is weaker than you and how you need to support the team member. All of those life skills are elements of gamification. Therefore, really, what is gamification? If you were to read these definitions and tell me what is coming to your mind. So I'm going to give you a minute to read through the three definitions of gamification. Let's try and look at what is coming to your mind. Yes, Shalini ma'am, good to see you back. You want to say something? Or was that by mistake? Okay, we'll come back to you in case you have anything to say. Meanwhile, I can request everyone to read through the definitions and let's see what are the things that are coming to your mind as the commonality between these definitions. I've put in bold some keywords. So we're looking at game design. right? In any game, whether you're playing the simplest game like a Ludo or a Snakes and Ladders, or you're playing a more complex board game, or you're playing a outdoor game like tennis or Kho or something like that, everything has a game design, right? So can you apply the concept of having a planned game design in the classroom context? Okay, so gamification in the simplest form is the application of game design and gaming principles to context outside of games. So can you apply the concept of having a planned game, having rules for a game in a context which is other than a gaming context, okay, to make learning enjoyable and stimulating for the learner, which is some of the things that you said in the chat as well. Now, gamification is also a collection of actions and procedures used to address issues by utilizing the attributes of game components, which means if you want to teach them how to listen to instructions, if you want to teach them any other life skill, you want to teach them problem solving, you want to teach them critical thinking, you want to teach them how to not to bully each other, you want to teach them how to take care of COVID protocol, for example, everything can be changed into a gaming and a rule mechanism, which makes it that much easier and enjoyable for children to take in, and also it makes it that much easier for them to retain, understand, and think of other solutions beyond that, right? So if you want to teach anything which is life skill oriented game and life skills, not just from a life skill perspective in terms of the soft skills, but life skills are related to your subjects as well. So you want to teach them how to ensure that they are doing, they're not making errors in mathematical calculation. Even that can become into a game. You want to teach them, complicated chemistry formula and get them to remember biological scientific names. Even that can be converted into a game. So anything where you want them to do an action or a procedure where you can get them to use components of the game, all of that comes under gamification, right? So therefore, gamification in education is the use of game-based components such as scoring, peer competition, teamwork, anything which is related to student engagement to ensure that you are creating an engagement in class. So if you were to look at it, it requires you to use all components of games, which means having a sense of competition, playing with peers, competing with each other, understanding how teamwork works, and how a scoring pattern works, and listening to rules, understanding instructions, not just hearing but listening as well. All of that is part of gamification. Is that okay? Or does anyone have any queries? Do you want to say anything? You want to add on to this? Anyone wants an alternative explanation? Are you good with this? Right? So you're looking at using games and the format of games in an education context. That is what is critically important. Okay. Now, why is gamification required? What benefit is it creating for us? We spoke about that a little while ago, but now that you're looking, yes, Tanya ma'am. Okay, anyone else? Students enjoy their learning. Okay, but what if you didn't do gamification? What would students lose out on? Let's do the reverse. Be the devil. Yes, Reena ma'am.
It increases the effectiveness of the child.
It increases their effectiveness. Can you break that up a little bit? Vidya ma'am is also saying recalling is better. Yes, absolutely. Recalling is better. What else?
Actually, ma'am, since childhood, like, from class, the day they start going school, they learn so many things. They have thousands of words, maybe more than that, and everything they have in their mind. But if I ask them, like, write a paragraph on this, even if it is as simple as their favorite toy, they start thinking not even about the toy. Even if we ask them to write about themselves, they start thinking. They have something in everything in their mind, but they start thinking. They don't know how to jot them down. So basically, these games help them to get that awareness that we know many things. It's not like that we are dull, we are just mugging up chapters and writing the question answers. We know more than that, and we are beyond our limit.
Absolutely. So what happens in gamification, or when you're using the game format in class, not only does it ensure that they remember the concepts, also if you have and all of us have diversity in our classrooms, right? Some children will understand concepts much easily, the others will require an alternate explanation and a third alternate explanation, they may need a lot more practice, etc. But what happens in a game format is that everyone is able to participate. So it's a very inclusive pedagogy. It absolutely helps in differentiation. You are able to ensure that every child is able to contribute to that pedagogy, right? Which means if a child is struggling with the concept, even they will understand the basic concept. If the child is a gifted child, which means they are very, very sharp, they are brilliant, etc., they may enhance that entire experience, contribute to the game in their own way. So everyone has an opportunity of contributing to the environment, which is why this pedagogy is considered one of the most inclusive pedagogies. It could be any child. It could be a child with difficulties. It could be a child with ADHD. It could be a child with autism. It could be a child who does not have any diagnosed difficulty, but just, doesn't participate so much in class. But a gamification context will change it. So I'll give you a live example. We do a teacher, as part of Carpediem, we do a teacher training program in a college, right, which is a B.Ed college. And one of the, activities that one was doing as part of one of the sessions was that we had told all of the participants that we'll divide you into groups, and every group has to create a body band. Okay, now what was the body band? The body band was that you cannot use any musical instruments. You can only use what is lying on your table, okay, during the workshop. So supposing you have a pen and a paper and whatever, a bottle or a tiffin box or something like that, that is allowed to be used, and the rest of it has to be your body. Somewhere you have to create a musical concert based on only your body and what is lying on the table. Okay, those are the simple instructions that were given, and it was supposed to be that these four groups are going to compete with each other. I cannot tell you how innovative some of those body band performances were. And one I particularly remember, and the reason why I was sharing this also, and I know a lot of you are wanting to unmute and share, so I'll give you that opportunity also. But one of them was where this boy had never spoken in my class, never spoken in my class. I had tried everything under the sun to make him interact, talk, etc., etc. But he was just this introvert, shy boy who would never speak. He did obviously understand, because when you would give him a paper or formative assessment, etc., he was being able to answer, but never verbally spoken or anything, right? And when they went into this body band performance, this boy came right in front and actually did a moonwalk, and with a bottle pretended to play an air guitar, and did a little bit of beatboxing also. So all I'm saying is, it kind of brings out a lot of things in children where they're not able to participate in other contexts, perhaps. Now I'll open it out. I'm sure some of you are wanting to unmute. You may want to share your own experiences as well. If you've ever used, any form of gamification. For me, in that context, we were only getting them to compete and do a performance, right? Which is also a gamification concept. Now, any of you who want to unmute and share any of your experiences before we move on? Any of you who would want to share? You can feel free to share before we move on. So I do have some, Mridula ma'am, who had said that her mic is not working. So she said, makes learning permanent. Children can relate to it. Absolutely. So that brings me to another example, right? So I am a visiting faculty in a college in Bombay, and I teach these children a topic called event management. And because it was event management, I got them to create these various events. Okay, so one group did a cultural event, one group did a academic event, one group did a sports-based event and a workshop and things like that. And when they wrote in the exam, all of them did very well in the exam, because they shared examples from the activities that they had actually done. So, typically when you get them to do this, they are able to relate to it, and there's a lot of recall value which comes in as well. Yes, Rita ma'am, you have your hand up.
Ma'am, whatever you are speaking, absolutely correct. I also found we have experiments this playing method in our education teaching method, but
Okay.
this takes time.
It takes. It does.
As for the CBSE curriculum, I am taking the 10th class and 9th class. It is not possible to inject all these chapters in that way in the
Mm,
children's mind.
Ma'am,
Absolutely correct.
with due respect, with
Yeah,
absolute due respect, I will like to disagree. Okay, and
yeah,
I'll tell you where. Now, I understand that the CBSE curriculum is very strenuous. I don't have any disconnect on that. Okay, and it can be very strenuous for children who might be struggling. But in fact, if you were to, and that is why it is saying you don't have to think of very complex activities, right?
yeah.
Simple small changes in the classroom, and it doesn't have to be different from that you have to today do a gaming class.
Yeah.
Okay, but if
Mm.
you can just whatever you were teaching, whatever syllabus you were planning to teach on that day, there itself bring in a little bit of gamification. Maybe, okay, 4 rows are doing this, one row is going to do the first 4 questions, the other row is going to do the next 4 questions, the third row is going to do the next 4 questions, and then you will exchange and teach each other. Even
Okay.
that is gamification, right? So it doesn't require it to be a very physical, very like a very grand planned activity that, oh, today I have to do a gamification class. In fact, if you do it like that, it loses its purpose.
Okay.
If you can make small changes in the regular lesson plans, right? So you know that I have to teach 30 topics. Okay,
I know.
every topic I will bring in one small gamification element. Somewhere I will get them to roll. So I'll show you a activity at the end of my presentation where
Sure, ma'am.
you can simply just use a dice in the classroom, right? Get them to Sunita ma'am. Can I just ask you to be on mute till you speak to us, please? Okay, so you can simply just get a dice into the classroom, tell them, and get a set of 100 questions if you want to. Okay, and then you get them to roll a dice and say, okay, everyone who rolls 1 is going to do multiples of 1. Everyone who rolls 2 is going to do multiples of 2. Even that excites children, right? Oh, what is the question that is going to come to me? I have to solve this question. Oh, you got multiples of 6. Which question have you got? So one is not talking about very complex activities. Simple changes which will ensure that little bit of excitement in the class. Okay, so I'm going to come back to this, and I understand for the secondary teachers, it becomes a little more difficult than the others, especially when you're when you're completing the syllabus for a board class. But again, for the same reasons, because you want them to remember, because you want them to be able to perform in their board exam, these little changes will ensure that they are able to recollect what happened in class. Oh, ma'am did this dice activity when she taught congruency of triangles. Okay, so that memory cue also works for children. Oh, ma'am did this color activity or color coding activity when she taught us this topic. So then she had explained this like this. It kind of ensures that children are able to think accordingly and relate also. I hope that kind of answers it for you, right? So I'm sorry, there's a lot happening on the chat. I will keep myself updated about the chat in a little while. Meanwhile, some of the benefits that we've spoken about, like we said, it helps in motivation. It ensures that all children can learn to respect each other. It definitely brings in attention and focus. Okay, so very often we are talking about our children these days not having attention spans because they're constantly on their phones, they're constantly on their laptops, tabs, etc., right? Sorry.
Well, I would like to say something.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, please.
The thing is, we used to have this ball game. That ball game really helps a lot. We used to take some simple topics like domestic animals or anything, any topic. So the ball is passed, and each child has to say something different, not the same animal. Something, that ball game really works out very well. And also in a group, we used to have group presentation from very junior students to the senior students.
Which
So
is
we
also a
give
good
them
idea.
according to their level. They used to discuss. They used to be given 5 minutes time. They will discuss among themselves, and then each person, according to their level, they will participate and say whatever they know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So so like this, like if you can keep sharing on chat the activities that you've done, I'm sure everyone will benefit from it. And what I'm emphasizing is that it doesn't have to be a very complicated process, right? So we all understand the pressures we have on syllabus. We all understand that we have to do. Okay. Having said that, the other aspect also is that our teaching and our effort of teaching our children will only be worth it if they are able to perform eventually when it counts, right? So it doesn't matter if I finish 32 chapters and if the children only remember 3, then it doesn't work for me. But if I've done 25 chapters and children remember 20 out of the 25 chapters, that's a better proportion to have, right? So therefore, can we work in ways in which it's going to increase their attention? So I was talking about attention and focus, and Murli ma'am was nice enough to talk about an attention task, because see, when the ball is being thrown at me, I'm on attention. I know when my turn is going to come. When when the dice is being rolled, or when random numbers, randomly numbers are being generated for me to speak in class, my attention is fully on that, right? So we've spoken about new knowledge, because games, etc., not only teach us about what the subject being taught is, but it's also teaching us a lot of life skills. And of course, a little while ago, we had also spoken about being able to differentiate, being able to work in a manner that all children can contribute to the gaming environment, right? They learn from it, they pick up from it, they are able to use. So for example, in the younger classes, if you use maths manipulatives, that's also a form of gamification, right? Physical, concrete way of learning maths, physical objects being used to learn the concept of HCF, LCM, etc. So all of that is also gamification. And you are ensuring that you are helping out a child who may not get HCF, LCM if you taught them the HCF, LCM on the board. But they are going to be able to understand HCF, LCM if they can physically see 3 balls, another 2 balls. Okay, now 6 balls. Now what is the commonality between these 3 numbers, right? So that's how you kind of build the linkages. Now let's move on. When can gamification be used? By when it can also be where. So when all can you use it? Can you use it only when you kind of have started the semester? Do you use it at the end of the semester? When do you use gamification typically? When will you use gamification? My recommendation would be that use gamification only once you have settled in. Yes, all the time, absolutely, but not as the first thing. Typically what happens is, to rapport build, we play games. Okay, now to rapport build, playing that game is a different concept to using games as part of the learning itself, right? So yes, to rapport build, to know the names of your children in class, to know where they come from, what their hobbies are, all of that, there, yes, you can play games. But more importantly, apply gamification when you know your class well. Okay, when you know how to do the grouping properly, when you know what's going to work in your class, that is when it'll create less of a problem for you, and that is when you will feel more confident about the gamification process. Typically what happens is, if we just jump into an activity without knowing our classroom, it goes into a chaos, and because it goes into the chaos, next time around we don't want to try it. Okay, so the recommendation is that spend the first few days rapport building. Yes, once you kind of know, that, okay, these are my children, this is what their strengths are, this is what their areas of support are, and all of that, that is when you fully go on to using gamification all the time. If you want to use it all the time, use it all the time. Most certainly you can use it for assessments. All assessments don't have to be paper pencil. A lot of your formative assessments can be in the gamification route, and must be in that route, because then you are able to check a range of skills in the children as well, right? So where all can you do it? You can do it within classroom. You can do it outside the classroom. You can be a physics teacher tying up with a sports teacher, like a basketball teacher. So you want to teach physics, you want to teach trajectory, go and play a basketball game, right? Children on their own will understand the concept of speed, trajectory, etc. Now, why boys, ma'am? Everyone, all children just like games. So if they are able to go outside, if they are able to play, nothing like that, right? So you can very well do a sports integration as part of the gamification as well. Yeah, absolutely. So yes, the noise, etc., you will only be able to control if you know your students well, if you set the ground rules well. So thank you for reminding me of that. So the when part of it also is, you only do gamification when you well established ground rules in your class. So when you well establish saying what is the decibel levels that you are okay with, what happens when there's disruption in class, all of that has to be in place for gamification to work well, right? It works beautifully well if you've done our planning process well. Okay, our planning process has to be as specific as as planned. Cliche as it may sound, your plan has to be well planned. Okay, and that is when you should be able to do a gamification process well. Again, you can integrate music, you can integrate sports, you can integrate art as part of your gamification exercise. So you could be very well tying up with the sports teacher and doing something in physics. You could be tying up with the sports teacher and doing something in any other subject as well. In maths, for example, so you could do ratio and proportion and do it on the sports field. There are various ways in which you can think of doing things once you get down to thinking of it, right? So which games can be used? What games can you use in the classroom? So part of it I kind of answered when I was answering Rita ma'am, right? That it doesn't have to be very physically intensive games unless you have
Yeah,
time for it, right? What other games can you use? So what are the type of games that all of you use?
as for my level, so it is word game.
Word games, okay,
Yeah.
absolutely. So
Because they are
vocabulary,
small kids, I am not dealing. I am dealing with the 8, 9, 10 students.
yes, yes,
So I am playing that, madam.
okay,
Jumble words,
okay,
games.
okay,
Take example, India map. Once I did that. Take example, they are very difficulties to memorizing in northeastern states.
okay,
Then I have with the students only in my classroom. I could coin a word TMMI ma. माँ का मतलब है मेघालय, असम and Arunachal Pradesh. They are just lying on a parallel line. So that it became easy then memorizing. From henceforth, I am using that technique in all the classes. They are very happy to memorizing because we are difficult to memorizing northeastern states and capitals. Some students I found they are not taking interest. They found difficulties to memorizing all these things.
correct.
So with this TMMI, T for Tripura, Manipur, Mizoram, and Nagaland. TMMN Ma. Yeah, these three words arrow ki under. Arrow means adolescent. They are some liking catchy is arrow. Love का जो symbol होता है arrow. उसके बीच में I have associated all these words TMMN and Ma. This
Nice.
became his very nice technique. Chat se they are remembering all these 7 states. Then
Correct.
we found the word gamings, madam, all capital letters, all capitals ka first syllabi. Then they found the teachers, whose teacher's name is coming in that. This way game I am practicing, ma'am, to
Yeah, so
memorizing the map.
what you're talking about is mnemonics, and mnemonics is a very good memory technique. So mnemonics works very well with adolescent and the middle classroom as well. And getting them to think of mnemonics works very well because then they're able to come up with their own whatever the other words that they relate to more. Right?
No, as you asked, madam, I am saying this. I have practiced, and this is effective. No doubt
Thank
it is
you
effective.
so much. Thank you so much. So mnemonics can be done like all of you are saying in the chat. You could think of dumb charades, bingo, number games, hopscotch, etc. And at the end of the presentation, I'll also show you a few specific games that you can use. Some of you may have used it. For all of you, otherwise it could be a take home as well. Now, when you played as children, now coming back to that original question that I asked, okay, how did you enjoy playing games? Like, what out of the emotions that you said earlier, how did you enjoy playing games, and have you stopped playing games now? Have you
We are
now
doing.
stopped playing games? Apart from what you play with your students, do you play games on a regular basis? Do any of you play games on a regular basis? Any games? Indoor games, outdoor games, just dumb charades, just anything?
Chinese checker,
Chinese checkers, okay.
Ludo,
Okay.
carom.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are
So
playing that.
all of you
Outlet-
who are playing now, right? All of you that are playing now, so you're playing board games, you're playing all the things that you might relate to. You may be playing it with your children at home, you may be playing it with friends and family, etc. What has changed between then and now? Between when you played as children and when you played now? Online mobile
During the
games also
corona
we
period,
are seeing.
madam, during the corona period, the family member, we did that, na. So we stay connected with our family with that.
Okay.
That is a
Okay.
special kind of a relation, extra relation. Before we found that attachment, connectivity,
Okay.
depending on each other family member. That's a good part of corona, ma'am. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Rita ma'am. All right, so for everyone else who's been putting down things on chat, you've been playing board games, you've been playing a lot of other games, like cards and badminton and etc. etc. Nothing changes, to be very honest. We
Yeah.
still have fun. We
Yeah,
still
yeah.
have fun, we still enjoy, we still learn. I learn board games from my son on an everyday basis. So he'll pick up something and he'll want to play it, and then he'll learn the rules, and he'll teach the rules. And to be very honest, amongst all of us at home, he's the best. He's 13 years old, but he's the best in being able to teach us the rules of the game. So nothing in terms of games changed throughout the our span. So even within the childhood age group, you can use it from the youngest child to the oldest child. Typically, even you have those fun school games also with, say, 6 to 99, 0 to 99. You have those kind of games as well. But gamification as a concept, it just needs to be tweaked around to your classrooms, but can be used irrespective of the age group that you're teaching. So it has nothing to do with whether you're teaching the young ones or the secondary ones or the middle school or the college students or whatever. Murli ma'am, you would want to add something? Would you want to add something? Okay.
No, yeah,
All right.
nothing.
Yeah, all right. No, yeah, I saw your hand up, so I thought maybe. Okay, so where can we use the games? We were talking about that. You can look at when you're looking at gamification, not just the winning and losing. You can also ensure that you learn more about the learners. Which child is struggling with what life skill are they not picking up? Is someone more empathetic than others? Is someone being too over competitive? Whatever. So you kind of are able to identify a lot of the learner qualities when they are playing games, without them having to tell you that, without them having to showcase that in any other way. Like some of you had said right in the beginning, it teaches us a sense of competition. Yes, as teachers, depending on the way we organize the games, and that is why I said setting the ground rules is very important, because competition is good, but it has to add to a positive sense of competition. It cannot become harming or detrimental, or it cannot be fun making for some child in case a particular child is struggling more than others. You did mention formative assessment. So yes, most certainly games should be used across the semester till the child is reaching the formative assessment. And like I said, even we enjoy games. Nothing has changed for us. Maybe the types of games may have changed, but the fact that we enjoy games, we learn from games, has not changed, which means it should work for all our children. It doesn't mean that it should work for only a particular type of children. But the most important is the bit that I was telling you earlier, that we do have to plan. We cannot get up in the morning today and say, okay, today I'm going to do this activity. Okay, even if I have done this activity for the last 16 years of my life, I still need to figure out whether that activity is going to work for this age group or not, right? So I do need to figure out what is it that is going to work. Okay, so now just the types of games like we were talking about, you mentioned some of them in chat. Dice games, there are lots of ways in which you can use dice games. If you want, I will send across some links and some book links, etc., and some options as well for dice games where you can read up, use, etc. I will tell Matthew sir to put it on the chat for all of us. Of course, you mentioned things like damsharads, etc., but there's also Pictionary, there's bingo, there's scavenger hunt. So scavenger hunt is more like treasure hunt. You can do it in a small way, you can do it in a large way, and you can have rules for it. So you give people a list and tell them to find those things that you want them to find. Scavenger hunt does not have to be like a physical hunt. It can also be a scavenger hunt on paper. So you can tell children to find words within a huge social studies chapter and ask them to find words, or ask them to find definitions, ask them to find dates, whatever. So it can be a scavenger hunt for that. Of course, you mentioned role plays and charades and quizzes and physical games in terms of any other movement kind of games which you can play, especially for the primary section. For the secondary, depending on time, for them also some amount of movement is good for sure. So I don't know, it was the Times of India, I think, Delhi today, or was it Indian Express Delhi? There was an article today which has come out, which there's a research, and if I find it, I'll post that into the group as well, or you could find it online. There's research which says that movement that has happened in classrooms has enhanced cognitive capabilities of children. So they've actually done research where children were allowed to move very often, and those children, their cognitive abilities were shown to be higher than the ones who kept remaining seated in the class. So I'm not sure whether it was the last couple of days, it was the Times of India or the Indian Express where this article has come out. So you may want to read that. So very clearly, children sitting in a single class in a desk area are not cognitively sharp. The ones who are being allowed to move within groups, move for one reason or the other, are the ones which are showing higher cognitive abilities. Yes, Reena ma'am?
Yes, ma'am, you are absolutely right. When we add movement to anything, we remember that thing. Do you remember, like when we were young, what our mothers used to do? They tie a knot when they, want to remember something. Okay.
Yeah.
Similarly, when we add actions, or we are using our fingers, or we are using any footstep while learning anything, like we are any movement, or we are changing the place, we remember that thing. It is very easy to recall. What I do in my classes, when I make them learn difficult antonyms or synonyms, or maybe past tenses, all forms of verbs, I always ask them to stand up, make a circle, then we do very different actions on every word. And when in one go they learn the entire page, more than 50 words in one go, they learn very easily, and they can recall easily. Very few of them maybe get confused in one or two,
which is going to happen with all of us. But
Yeah.
typically the multi-sensory approach, where you are not taking information just by listening to someone, you are listening to someone, you're seeing something, you are clapping your hand, you're snapping your fingers, you're writing, you are jumping, you could be doing anything. The multi-sensory approach always enhances cognitive abilities, right? So very clearly, just getting children to sit in a desk for 45 minutes, not move from their place, does not enhance any cognitive abilities. If at all, it might just be switching them off from the subject itself. So that is proven multiple times over, because it was an article which I read like yesterday or day before, is why I was telling you about the Times of India as well. So very clearly research is telling us that. And coming back to what I was telling Rita ma'am earlier, that it doesn't have to be that you are using all forms of the game, right? Maybe you are using only the concept of having learning badges. So children who have done a particular reading task well, they get a particular badge. Children who've done a particular writing task well, they get a particular badge. So maybe you're using only that. Maybe you're using a dashboard where every week, a child who comes up with 5 new words is put onto that dashboard or something like that. And every week, a child who comes up with a new sentence of that word, or whatever. I'm just giving you English examples. It could be very well some other subject as well. So maths, for example, you could very well be doing task cards, right? So any of you familiar with task cards? Any of you familiar with task cards? So typically what happens, especially in maths, is okay, that we tend to give worksheets or a, like a list of questions for practice, because for sure maths is a subject which requires practice, right? And any other mathematical subject, so even say in chemistry or physics, or even in social studies or whatever, you'll give a worksheet, like a long worksheet with 10 questions on it, and you'll tell the children to solve it. Okay. Now, there are two problems with giving a long worksheet. One is, if I am a child who struggles, okay, I'll look at that, and if I'm not able to solve the first two questions, I'll get stuck, okay, because I'm suddenly thinking, oh my God, there are 10 more questions and I can't solve it. Okay. The other issue is there is no excitement. I already know that, okay, I have to sit and do this, like monotonous tasks, like I'm going on and on and on. Now that is broken by what are known as task cards. So the same worksheet, you don't have to do anything extra. Okay, you create a worksheet. The only thing you do is maybe, after every two questions, leave a little gap so that you can cut it from between and give it to children as slips. Okay. Now, what happens in slips is that when you know that certain children will struggle more than other children, they can start with the first. And when you do the worksheet, do a simple to a complex. So your question number 1 is the simplest. Your question number 10 is the most complex question. And then the first two questions, as soon as I solve the first two questions, I will get the slip for the 3 and 4. As soon as I solve that, I get 4 and 5. Now, there could be children who do the first 4 or 5 very easily, and they know that they'll do, and you also know that they'll do it very easily. So you can take the call of telling them, no, you start from 5 or you start from 7. Okay. And you start and solve the 7. You don't do the first 6. So it allows you to differentiate. It allows you to build that sense of competition, and you're still completing syllabus. You are not doing anything which is out of syllabus. Those questions are very much syllabus oriented. You are completing a topic which in any case you have to make them practice. But what are they doing? They're doing it as task cards. Okay. So you can use simple things like that. Now, with that, in terms of content, this is what I had planned for the hour. I'm just going to take you through 2 quick illustrations. Sorry, there's a little bit of a typing thing there. So I'll tell you what that was. Essentially, you can play like a tic-tac-toe. Okay, whether you want to play tic-tac-toe for maths, or you want to play that for English, or you want to play that for geography, doesn't matter. You simply have a set of questions listed out like this, which are clues. You have 2 teams, one who plays the knots, one who plays the X's, and you get them to solve one question at a time. If they get it right, they can place their crosses in the place where they want to, and they play a normal game of tic-tac-toe. A variation to this is you can place word clues within the tic-tac-toe as well. Okay, so for example, you only want them to, for a particular question, supposing you want to do only blends in English. Okay, you may place only the blur, flur, cr, whatever, the first 2 letters of the blends in each of the spots. The clues are such that they have to identify which specific answer it is, and they can only put their knots and crosses in that position. So you can play it in both ways, but basically you're playing a game of knots and crosses, and you're still very much doing grammar, very much doing geography or whatever. And you can do it for any subject. One other way is doing a roll the dice. So for every number, you have a task that the child has to do. Here, of course, these are activity tasks that I have just given as an example. If I had more time, I had thought that I will play this with you. But since we are at 7 o'clock, we can't play it today. But maybe some other day we can play it. But for your children, you can change this to questions. You can change this to just numbers, and you have a list of questions, and the child can pick a question and solve it. Right? So that's just 2 examples that can be shared. And I'm going to leave you with this, right? That it's not always about competing to win, but about sharing how you won. So the entire process of gamification is important because it teaches children a lot more than just that last winning or losing battle, right? It kind of takes them through a lot more in terms of activities as well. Right. So with that, thank you so much. I know some of you are asking for the link for the attendance, etc. So that's going to be put onto the WhatsApp group by Matthew, sir. And if some of you are not on that group, you can send me a WhatsApp message on the number, on this number, on the 7506098856 number. And I will send you Matthew, sir's number, and you can get yourself added to the WhatsApp group as well. I'm not sure if sir is here just now. I'm not sure if he's there, but either ways, if some of you are not on the WhatsApp group, you can please feel free to send me a WhatsApp and I will get you connected onto that WhatsApp group. If you're on the WhatsApp group, that AIF, any of the WhatsApp groups, then the link will come there, right? So thank you so much, everyone. If any of you have any questions, I'll be here for a little while. Otherwise, have a happy new year. Take care and stay blessed always. Yes, Nandini ma'am.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
Ma'am, actually, I have learned and heard about this gamification process throughout my BEd curriculum.
Yeah.
But I'm teaching social studies from secondary classes.
Mm-hmm.
But where I have applied this theory in teaching geography and mainly in politics also it works. But when it comes to history, I always maybe I'm not able to brainstorm or come up with interesting games. Or mainly I used to get now I have entered the job and it is my first job, so I'm not experienced too. So after lunch, children are really worn out. They don't want to study. And when I go in and we have to start a new chapter in history, they don't want to, or they are not interested. They are least interested. So I want to apply this gamification part in dry areas of social studies, but I don't know how to. So is there any?
So I can think of a few immediately. And then maybe if you want to text me, I'll think of a few more and share those with you as well. So one aspect of gamification is also role plays, right? So and role plays in history go very well. So sometimes we are hesitant in getting children to do role plays, but you will be surprised with the enthusiasm that they'll do it once they eventually get used to doing it. Okay, so if you want them to convert an entire chapter into a role play and they read the chapter, so do a flipped classroom and do a role play. Get them to translate everything that is there in that chapter and they tell the story to you rather than you telling them the history story. So everyone plays a character and everyone in turn gets turned to play a character. So it doesn't mean that only children who volunteer are going to participate and things like that. Okay, and the other way is the other way that I have used, and I've used that for dry subjects as well, is what I was telling you in terms of the tic-tac-toe or the so what happens is that typically when you engage them in a especially in an after lunch class, if you can engage them with a attention and focus task, so then they will be able to listen to everything else that you may want to do also, right? So there are lots of websites which are available on the net where you can create crosswords, you can create word searches on your own with the words that you want to put according to your history chapter. Okay, so if you want, I will you send me a text? I will send you a couple of websites that I use, right? Which are good. Yeah.
I shall do so.
Send me a WhatsApp message. I will send you the links. You can so what you do is before you start, since your class is typically after lunch, get them to do a word search, get them to do a word search, but with the history words, not word search random. Right? So therefore, you'll have to create it. So if you're doing a chapter on the Mughals, you'll have to create a word search for Mughals. You'll have to create a crossword for the Mughals, etc. And but that is very easy to do. You simply have to put clues, and the crossword gets created for you. Then you just take a printout, take a Xerox, and take it to class.
Oh, that's really great, ma'am. I would love to do so.
Yeah, so you can, so it's one of the simplest ways, and then once they pay attention, then get them to do whatever else you want to do.
Okay, ma'am, one more thing I wanted to ask you, is the gamification method useful to, we can improve children, nowadays children are not interested in writing long essays and answers. And in social studies, it is impossible to, we cannot skip that part. We have to write long essays and answers. So is there any, you know, any method in gamification through which we can engage children?
Yes, I'll tell you that as well. Meanwhile, Amit sir has been really kind and he's given you one of the links, so you may want to copy that and keep. Wordwall is also a good choice. So thank you so much, Amit sir. So you can keep that, and the others can also keep that. I can send a few more, the ones that I use as well. So Wordwall is also one of the ones I use. Now, as far as history or any other subjects where you require a lot of writing and a lot of Pushpa ma'am has taken the answer away from me. Mind maps is very good. So all forms of mind maps will work. Get them to convert that entire chapter into a graphic organizer. There are specific mind maps for social studies. You can search for those. There are also others which are generic, depends on what topic, etc., that you want to teach. Use a lot of graphic organizers in history, and those work very well.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Yes. Thank you so much, everyone. Yes, Sarita ma'am. I am a big fan of mind maps, and both online and offline, and also using a lot of graphic organizers. Works very well for children with special needs as well. Children who have diagnosis also learn a lot from mind maps. So that's also good. So thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. You can make mind maps on Padlet. So supposing you want to do an online task, you can give them online task. You can get them to make a mind map on Padlet. You can get them to make it on MindMaster. So you can give it to them as home assignment also. And if you want to do it physically in class, then you can use various formats of mind maps as well. Yeah. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a happy New Year. Take care.
Ma'am, could you repeat these apps you told me about?
I told you
making mind
Padlet.
maps.
Yeah, Padlet. Padlet can be used for collaboration either ways, and it can also be used to make mind maps.
Okay.
I'll send you the link. Wait. So there are enough and more YouTube videos available. Also, I plan to do a session on mind maps somewhere in February. Maybe I'll cover this. So that's the Padlet website. You can use that to create mind maps as well. And then there's this MindMaster, which can also be used. Sorry, it's a very just use the beginning link. Yeah, anything else?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
It was very interesting, very knowledgeable and effective webinar. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rina ma'am.
Yeah,
Thank you
learned
for
a lot.
contributing so well. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. And Happy New Year.
To you too.